Hi, in this video I'm going to demonstrate how to solve the problem of your alarm system shutting down seemingly for no reason when the power goes off. See, for example, here's my keypad. Don't worry about that LED, that's just for testing purposes. So here's my keypad, everything is fine. When I unplug the AC power supply, this is the AC power supply, you can see it's on. When I unplug it, my whole alarm goes dead. See, when I plug it back in, now when I take a measurement just to see what's going on here, checking firstly the AC voltage coming into the supply. So there we go, I'm going to measure across there, and you can see that the voltage is correct coming from the supply there onto the main board, 17.5 volts. So when I measure at the battery, if I show you, I'm now going to take a DC voltage measurement, and look at that, it's actually correct. I mean, that's 13, so that is not a bad voltage. But watch what happens when I disconnect the battery terminal completely. If I measure the battery, you can see there's that 13.2 volts. But look what happens when I measure the lead coming from the alarm. Look, there's nothing there. So actually the alarm is not charging the battery. And if it's not charging the battery, there's obviously something wrong here. If it can't charge the battery, it probably cannot get power from the battery, because if I unplug it now while it's disconnected from the battery, look what happens. You see the whole panel goes offline. See, the panel is now offline. So what happens here is there's a fuse just over there, which is the fuse in line to the battery. So if I have a look at it, I can actually see it looks like it's blown, and I'm quickly going to measure it. Right, I got my leads here. I've put it to continuity. Listen to the beep telling me it's a short circuit. And I'm going to measure across this fuse, and look, my meter is not showing me anything. And if I measure across the other fuse, notice that's the siren fuse. Notice how it's telling me there's a short circuit. So something is wrong with this fuse. So best to do this with the power off and the battery disconnected. And I'm just going to remove the fuse. And look at this fuse. If you look closely, you can see that it is actually burned. The fuse element has separated from the side, the end cap. So this is now an open circuit. And if I just do a continuity measurement, you can see my meter is not giving me any reading here, and this is definitely an open circuit. So I'm now going to change the fuse with another fuse. This must be a 4 amp. The correct fuse is a 4 amp fast blow. And I don't know if you can see, there is an F and a 4, and that's telling me it's a 4 amp fast blow. And I'm going to now insert this in the place where the fuse goes, just over there. And now that the fuse is inserted, just showing you, if I do the continuity measurement, you can hear my meter, and you saw it showed there's 0 ohms. So now when I plug in my system, the transformer is on, the panel has switched on. I can see my keypad is now switched on, and I'm first going to start with a measurement across these battery charging terminals. So I'm going to put the negative there, and here is the positive, and now look at that, there is the correct voltage which should be charging my battery. So all that had happened was this fuse had blown. Maybe somebody had shorted out the battery, maybe somebody put the wrong type of battery, and now if I put this back onto my battery and I take a measurement, it's still got that 13.2 volts, but look, it is now climbing as it charges the battery. Now if I unplug the AC supply, right, I've just put the keypad there, and now when I unplug the AC supply, notice how the alarm no longer powers itself down. So now it is running completely from the battery, and that problem is solved. All that was wrong was the fuse, the 4 amp fuse had blown. When you measure the output voltage from the main panel, it should be at least 13.5 volts. In order to charge the battery, the backup battery of your alarm system, it needs to have a voltage of at least 13.5 volts. If you're finding that the voltage on the output of those terminals is 0, it means that probably the fuse is blown. If you're finding that the voltage is 12 volts or less, it's not going to charge your battery. So that means there's a fault on your panel. It needs at least 13.5 volts. If it's 13.7, it's fine. If it's 14 volts, it's fine. As you connect the battery, you'll find that the output voltage to the battery, or the output voltage from the panel that's feeding into the battery while it's charging, will reduce slightly in order to charge the battery. What is happening is the battery is pulling lots of current from the alarm panel, and at that time, while it's charging, the voltage across the battery is lower. As the battery gets charged, the voltage across the battery will rise. So you'll find that the voltage across the battery rises slowly. If you're seeing the voltage across the battery rising slowly while it's plugged into while the AC transformer is plugged in, that's a good sign. That's telling you that everything is working fine. If you're finding the voltage across the battery is depleting over the few minutes and it keeps depleting, it means that it's not charging or your alarm system is not plugged in.